Looks to come inside and find one, a goal, and find the back of the net for Perth.
And the Azzurri have come back from 2 goals down to tie it up.
Cue the celebrations for the Azzurri.
Yeah, welcome to the Perth SC Podcast, episode 14. Great to have you on board once again. Another big episode, plenty to talk about as we push towards the conclusion of the NPL in particular, the regular season. Another busy week for the club, plenty to look forward to, plenty of teams in cups, in finals, in everything else like that. So, looking forward to the climax of the season. Plenty to talk about on this edition. A reminder, don't forget to subscribe to the Perth SC Podcast. Make sure you give a good old review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. That would be very much appreciated. We're going to hear from NPL men's striker Sam Cook in just a few minutes' time. I caught up with Danielle Brogan as well very quickly following that tricky midweek fixture for the NPL Women on Tuesday nights. And, plenty to see us through for the next little while. Let's have a look at the results for the weekend. It's been a big couple of weeks. We got a chance to take a little bit of a breath, particularly around the NPL men's team. Safety secured. So, we spoke with Fed about that a couple of weeks ago. I'll speak to Cookie about that as well. So, big result on the weekend, wasn't it? It was almost like a little bit of an exclamation mark on what has been a difficult season, but what a result it was. A thrilling 5-4 away win over Perth Red Star. Goals to Cook, Ninkovic, Fakeney, Pollard, Gamasquid, they were all on the score sheet. Fantastic to have so many scorers on the names on the score sheet, I should say. And outstanding result to spoil the Red Star party, wasn't it? Because that result plus what happened up at Kingsway meant Kingsway took out the title for 2024. And as I said, put a bit of an exclamation point on what has been a big year and a big week for the lads. It just doesn't finish there. Another one coming up this weekend, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the pod. Prior to our senior men, our 18s, they recorded a 2-1 win. It was a compulsory win by all imaginations because, it's going to come down to this final weekend this weekend from what I understand. We'll go into what's happening this weekend a little bit later on, but that was a massive win, 2-1 win. Matthias Major on the score sheet there and Clarence Musa both managing to get their name on the score sheet there. So fantastic for Basil Lenzo and his team. They'll remain top for the time being, and we'll get into the permutations and what that looks like heading into the final round this weekend. For our 20s men, a massive 7-0 result. 2 to Jacob Rossi, who's had a superb season. Singles to Ricky Opiro. Davies was on the score sheet. Wright, Belladonna and Zoric also on the score sheet there. The result will mean that the 20s will finish the season in second spot. Despite what's to come this weekend. For our NPL women, a busy week. Sunday night saw a 5-0 result against Mum FC. Outstanding there. Sam Mathers with a brace, superb. Cassidy, Lincoln and McCartney all on firing on target there as well, getting singles as well. For our 21s ladies, it was a big 6-0 win. Goals to Hannah Inch, to Kurum, and an incredible 4 goals to Tamsin Hannon, who's come along beautifully throughout this year. So, big congratulations to Tamsin and for the 21s as well. Looking to finish on a high, I am very, very sure. On Tuesday night, we also saw the NPL Women. They played a bit of a tricky midweeker as Perth took on the NTC in their rescheduled round 19 fixture. It was a hard-fought win, wasn't it? It was 4-2, but it was touch and go there for a little while. It's a little bit of a twilight zone at the moment as obviously the title kind of snuck away a couple of weeks ago. They've got this tricky little period and then they'll be into top 4 cups and, of course, the big state cup final to come as well. But it was a 4-2 win on a bit of a cold old Tuesday night. Ella Lincoln, superb, a double, takes her season tally, can you believe it, to 25 for the season, which is absolutely outstanding. It'll surely see her take out the golden boot for the NPL Women in season 2024. So a big congratulations to Ella Lincoln. And, I asked Danielle Brogan after the match. I caught up with Brogues and asked her a little bit about the team, but also a little bit about Ella and how she's firing at the moment. This is a little bit of what Danielle Brogan had to say.
Brogues, tricky, rescheduled midweeker. How did you see it?
Oh, look, happy with the win, and I'm definitely happy for Ella to get a couple of goals. So we wanted to play it a couple of weeks ago, and the referee wouldn't let me. But look, it's hard when the schedule we've got coming up next week, our priority is the Cup, but we still needed to win tonight to make sure we finish second. So it's pleasing. Good patches here and there, but just glad we got through unscathed.
It could be seen as maybe a couple of dead rubbers heading into the end of the season, then it's business time. How do you make sure you keep up that motivation and you don't just, the side doesn't just fall into a bit of a lull?
It's certainly hard, especially once we knew the title was gone. I think that Red Star game blew the wind out of our sails a little bit, and it's always hard to keep the girls motivated, but they're professionals, and look, there is a bigger picture. We want our players playing in the A-League, and we want as many of them progressing their careers as much as possible. So trophies are lovely, but we certainly know that, you have to build momentum moving up into these finals, and Saturday's game is going to be exactly the same. So they know that we've got to step up and keep playing the football that we want to.
You've got a few that will be, they've been signed for the Perth Glory A-League side. Does that add a little bit of pressure, or what's the scenario around that for you and the players at the moment?
Well, look, it's a hard one because they're going to pre-season, so they need to be fresh enough for that. They need to be fit going into pre-season these days, so we just want to make sure they're not injured going in. We want them to be confident and believe in themselves because they're going to have to go in and fight for their spots in there, so all of them are starting here. They might not have that luxury when they go into the A-League, but I think they're quality players. Tia McKenna, I'd have her in my team every day of the week, and her work rate, Georgia showed tonight the goals that she can score. She was involved in 4 of the goals on the weekend, and she's playing out of position and doing everything that we are. So, it's hard to manage that. I've reached out to the Glory coach and asked what he wants of us in the next 4 weeks, but look, we still have a club to play for, and the girls want to win, so they're happy enough to just keep playing.
And as an ex-pro yourself, ex-Matilda, and represented the Glory so proudly, what's the advice that you've been kind of passing on?
Look, they just got to make sure that they go in there and work hard. Everybody sees talent differently. We all have a different eye. I might not like the same player that you do. So, they just need to go in there and work hard, try and fight for their spots, enjoy the experience as well, because you don't always get a second contract, and that's been seen a lot in the last few years, players only getting 1 season. So, look, they're all good kids. They've all come through the NTC system. I'd love to see someone like Ella or Baxter maybe get an opportunity to get in there and amongst it, but we'll just have to wait and see with that.
Just back on the Azuri, looking ahead, top 4 cup and a big cup final as well. Yeah,
it's an interesting layout this year, so we could potentially play Red Star 3 weeks in a row. So, look, we'll take one at a time there. We haven't won either of them. We've obviously been in the cup final before and the top 4 twice. So, look, it's one game at a time, cup final first, and hopefully we can get the win over them and roll on from there.
Yeah, tricky little period there for the NPL women's team, but all the ducks in a row. Big good luck to Brogues and the rest of the side. Big couple of weeks to come, of course. Top 4 cup and the big cup final. Wishing the girls all the best over the next few weeks. Right, we're going to take a quick break. After the break, we're going to have a chat to Sam Cook. He's up next here on the Perth SC Podcast. Welcome back to the Perth SC Podcast. Huge win on the weekend, wasn't it, for the Azuri NPL men's team? A massive 5-4 thriller up against Red Star up there at ECU. Tough place to go at the best of times. Red Star still with a chance at that stage to take on the title, but the Azuri boys following, their safety, security, if you like. They were the party spoilers, if you like, up there against Red Star. So a big part of that team on the weekend, and I'm pretty sure he picked up a goal of his own to bring his tally up to about 11 for the season. Sam Cook's with us, striker for the Azuri men's team. Sam, thanks for jumping on, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Mate, as I said, 11 goals for the season. I think I'm right in saying it's not a bad return at all. How have you seen the season yourself?
Personally, I'm relatively happy with the amount of goals I scored. I think last season I got 12, but also got a few this season in the cup, which was nice. And yeah, it's been a bit of a disrupted season, just a couple of injuries, sickness. But yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with how things have gone so far on a personal level.
It has been a up and down season, especially by Azuri's standards. And as you said, injury has played its part. Of course, a change in coach, a change in, I guess, mentality and style with the changing coach as well. Safety secured. How do you reflect on it once I guess the dust has settled?
Yeah, look, it's been a difficult season, I think, for everyone involved in the club. But we've been really lucky with having two great coaches this season in Danny Hay and Kenny Lowe. And although maybe the results haven't been as good as they probably should have or could have been, I think the lads dealt really well with that sort of change relatively early on, and just sort of the change in environment, I guess, which comes with having two different coaches. But they made the sort of transition pretty easy, having Kenny come in after Danny. So although we probably didn't finish as high as we would have liked to, I think it's sort of got a good base level of where we can be, and especially with that win on the weekend, we've really shown with the right way of how we're playing and how good we can be, that we can beat these really good teams. So yeah.
There was a few real standout results throughout the season. I think the first one probably came against Western Knights at home. That was when they were flying, at least for a team that's come up from Div 1. They were certainly pushing for that top four at that stage. And then towards the back end, of course, was the Balcatta win away. And then, well, it was a little bit different because you played Fremantle and there was a lot still on the line at that stage. And you came out all guns blazing, a 2-0 result against a very, very good Fremantle side. Were they probably the standouts for you as well, or is there any other matches that you kind of went, okay, we're going to be all right here?
I think those two are definitely the big ones. I think the biggest was obviously Fremantle a couple of weeks ago, still being in that sort of limbo. But it was a weird feeling that day, I guess. Well, like we rocked up and I was talking to Ben Stroud, and we was throwing some darts before the game, and I just turned around and said to him, I just feel like we've got it. We sort of had that feeling of belief that we're good enough to get results against these teams which are fighting for the top four and a really good team. So I think those two will probably be the biggest. But yeah, I think that win at home against Freo sort of cemented our belief internally of that we are a great team as well, and we can beat these teams.
Sam, at the start of the season, there was a real statement made by the club under Danny Hay that this wanted to be a club that takes the professionalism to the new level. They started to train in the morning rather than the afternoon. He wanted to have more of a professional setup. Of course, Kenny came in and took that by the horns as well. How have you seen that transition compared to maybe how you've dealt with football previously?
Yeah, well, it's been a bit different, obviously having it in the morning, but you do get that sort of that freshness, having not been at work all day or been at university, or in some of the lads' cases been at school. You do get that sort of freshness in the morning, and it does sort of bring in a real competitive nature, and I guess that sort of added edge to training because everyone's fresh and raring to go for the day. So I think it's been good for the club this season, and yeah, I've sort of enjoyed those morning sessions.
You've played more of a pivotal focal point kind of lone striker role this season. Do you prefer that role, or do you prefer to be out wide a little bit? I mean, it's a hell of a responsibility to play that lone striker, because if the goals don't go in, you're the kind of one, whether you're a fault or not, that people kind of look at. Yeah.
Now for me, I think I love playing as a number 9. I love playing as a lone striker or in a striker with a 2. That's where I feel most comfortable. But yeah, it does come with some added pressure, I guess. But I always sort of like it. Some of the lads in the team don't like taking penalties because there is that pressure. But I guess as soon as there's a penalty won, I'm looking for the ball because I want that pressure and I want the goal more than anything. So I think that sort of for me, I definitely prefer being as a number 9 and trying to get on the end of things. Sometimes, obviously, it doesn't work. Maybe could have scored a few more this season. But yeah, I love getting in the box and getting my big head on some things and getting that toe on some things, and yeah, just sort of trying to get it in the back of the net. That's what I love doing.
Well, I was just going to say, mate, because I've kind of watched your game and I see a little bit of maybe Mark Viduka in there. I'm a Leeds fan, so I see a little bit of Patrick Bamford in there, and they've got big heads too that they like to score with. But is there anyone that you kind of like to, I guess, base your game on? I
mean, sort of growing up in sort of recent times as well, I would say probably Jamie Vardy.
Sure.
I sort of like I like getting in behind. I'm relatively tall, but I know that getting better in the air is something I can definitely work on. But I like sort of getting in behind, and I like to back myself with my pace against most defenders in the league. So that sort of getting in behind, being able to play off both feet, and yeah, I'd sort of say he's probably the closest. But as a Newcastle fan, I have to say that Shearer is my biggest my biggest hero.
No doubt coming from Cook Senior, mate. I know where that's exactly coming from. Mate, I guess we'll just use that. I guess that answer there to go into a good segue into a similar theme, and it's a question that you'll probably ask yourself and maybe Kenny and the coaching staff. But what are the areas of your game you feel have gone well, and what are the other areas that you feel you might want to improve a little bit in time for next season?
Well, I think I've sort of gotten lucky, especially when I was younger with playing with my dad. He used to constantly be saying, even when I was really young, you're too good now, obviously lying, but you've got to use just your left foot. So I'm quite happy playing off both sides of my body. And I think maybe last year I worked out that I'd scored, 12 in the league, and it was something like 4 or 5 on my left and about the same on my right. So I think that would probably be my biggest strength. And yeah, as I mentioned, I know I'm pretty tall. I could probably beef up a little bit more and get a bit stronger, and I'm planning on doing that in the off season. So I think sort of my hold up work is all right, but I definitely can improve on that. And there's plenty of things I can improve on, but I would say that that's probably the biggest. But I'm definitely happy off both sides of my feet, I would say.
Something that intrigues me, mate, is what happens behind closed doors as far as the relationship and the dynamics and everything else like that. Kenny Lowe, it's he's got an impeccable record at developing young players, mate. How have you found working with Kenny? And I guess what's that relationship like? Yeah,
I've really liked it. So we were obviously lucky to have Danny, who's a great coach as well. And when Kenny came in, it's sort of taken a different turn, but sort of a turn in the right direction as well. So I've really enjoyed working with Kenny. Obviously, a great coach, has worked with great players in Australia, overseas, and obviously was a good player when he was around. So he knows his stuff. So it's really good to have someone to really listen to and sort of take in the advice that he gives. And so I'm really enjoying it. I've really enjoyed working with him.
Sam, just taking a step back for a quick second. Take us up to your journey until now, mate. What did your junior kind of journey look like to coming to play for the Azzurri over the last couple of years? Yeah, so I started most of my junior career. I was at Melville or Mum FC now. Yep.
And I made my sort of my senior debut at 15 there in State League Division 2. And so I spent probably about 8 or 9 years at Mum FC, and I then gained all the experience from playing in junior NPL there, and managed to break my way into the first team. And then I went on to Coburn and played in the NPL in the 20s there for a couple of seasons, and managed to make my first team debut under Scotty Miller and Dale Wingle. So I was really lucky. I've always had a good support around me, and great coaches to sort of help me with my development. And then, after I was at Coburn, I came across to the Azzurri and played in the 20s there, and I've loved it ever since. Absolutely. Do you keep an eye on what's happening across the, I guess, other teams and the other leagues and everything else like that? You keep a keen eye on what's happening across the state? Yeah, I do. Just sort of look at State League One and State League Two every sort of couple of weeks or every weekend, just because obviously having played in the division a few years ago, I like to see where teams are now and where some teams aren't. But yeah, I keep up with it.
A little bit of I guess, talk about the future of WA football structure and everything else. One thing that I love, particularly with my fan hat on, is the promotion relegation playoffs. I think it adds a little bit to the end of the season. What are your thoughts on that? Would you rather just have straight relegation? What are your thoughts on that kind of setup as a player?
No, I think they're good. So when I was at Melville, we were involved in the promotion playoffs a few years back. So unfortunately, we didn't get promoted that year, but it does bring that sort of extra element of, a little bit. Some of the boys get a little bit nervous, but it sort of rises you to the occasion. And I think it's good to sort of get a level between the teams that are above. Obviously, the team that finishes second bottom then comes into that sort of playoff. But I think it's much better than having just a straight relegation and straight promotion. I think it sort of brings that little extra scare to it, but also a bit more competitive. And I think if you can get through those games, it's definitely a big joy and a big relief. But I think it's much better than the straight relegation.
And it's much better to watch it as a neutral, mate. Let me tell you, being a Leeds fan, we haven't got a very good record at playoffs. So, I'm not a huge fan of them, when it's my team. But I certainly take it on. It's, last year to see Fremantle where they are and obviously, caused a little bit of an upset in sending Sorrento back down and everything else like that. So, it was great to watch. What's the off-season look like for yourself? Of course, we've got a game this weekend, but which we'll get into. But what does the off-season look like for yourself?
So I'll probably give myself a couple of weeks to sort of settle everything down. I'm at uni at the moment, so I'll be doing some exams in the off-season, which is never fun. But I'll be not giving myself too much time off, and then sort of making sure I get back into the running side at least, but hopefully being able to beef up a little bit more in a few weeks and just enjoy a little bit of the time off as well.
What are you studying, mate? What are you hoping post football?
So I'm studying human resource management and marketing. So I'm thinking probably in the commerce sort of sector, probably in human resource management, I think is the way it's leaning, but I'm happy studying that at the moment, and it's pretty interesting, I think. Some people may not, but I'm enjoying it at the moment.
The old man didn't push you towards the journalism route, mate?
No, he hasn't just yet. I don't think he will, thankfully. But definitely not for me.
A bit of a dead rubber, it must be said, this weekend. It is against Perth Glory. It will be played at E&D Letus Stadium. Just a big reminder for all of our listeners that one isn't at Dorrien Gardens due to a change in schedule. How do you approach this one? And, of course, despite it being a quote-unquote dead rubber, you still want to finish the season on a high. Yeah,
absolutely. We know that if we get a result and certain things go away, we can jump an extra spot up the ladder. So it always looks better. So we definitely won't go into it thinking it's just another match that doesn't mean anything. It certainly means a lot to the boys that we get a win against Glory on the weekend, and obviously they've got some important games coming up. But I think it will be a good game, and we'll be doing everything pretty much the same. I would like to think, and all the boys will be going into it wanting to get that extra position just to sort of be a good finish to the end of the season and a little bit more of a boost.
Mate, you're a big fan of a goal celebration. What are we pulling out this week?
You know what? All the lads like to take the mick because I never remember the ones that people tell me to do. And so it's always off the cuff, and my head goes and I'm running, and then I'm doing knee slides into the floor and getting my knees stuck, and I'm doing all this daft stuff that I haven't even thought of. But look, if you think of one, you can definitely let me know. But I reckon I probably will forget, but I'll do my best to remember. So I'm not too sure if I grab one. I'll just be focusing on grabbing one, to be honest, and then the celebration comes after.
I wouldn't be going the knee slide at E&D Letus, mate. It can get a bit boggy down there. So, you don't want to go popping a knee out on a celebration. That'll certainly make the headlines there. Sam, thanks very much for jumping on, mate. It's really great to have you on. I just want to finish with one last one, mate. If you had to pick a MVP for the year for the Azuri, mate? Who's your money on come awards night?
Look, I think it's between probably two for me. I think David Ninkovic is obviously a fantastic player, and he gets goals and assists. And then recently he's been in hot form in front of goal, which is nice to see. And Abdul Osman, who represented Somalia earlier in the year in the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. And yeah, he's just a fantastic footballer. So I think probably between the two of them, I'd like to think that they'd hopefully get an award or at least a pat on the back from me.
Two very worthy nominations there. Sam, thanks for your time, mate. Much appreciated.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Big thank you to Sam Cook, who joined us for a chat just before this brief break a little bit earlier on. Big thank you to Danielle Brogan as well. Some big fixtures to come. Before I get into those, I just want to send a big shout out to our 18s women's development team. Big congratulations to Brian, to the team, to all the girls, all the parents and everything else. It's been a tremendous season. I understand it's been 17 games and 17 wins. They've won the league and they are on the way to the cup final as well, which is absolutely superb. And big congratulations to everyone associated with our 18s women development team. And wishing you all the best luck for the rest of the season, the finals, and of course the cup and everything else there might be to come. Looking forward to seeing how they get on. Right, let's have a look ahead to the weekend. Just before we wrap things up, bit of a shorter, bit of a sweeter edition of on the Perth SC podcast. Let's have a bit of a look at what that does look like. NPL men up against Perth Glory this weekend. That is happening at 3 p.m. Saturday. Of course, being the final round, it will be simultaneous kickoffs. However, this match has been moved, so just be wary. This match has been moved due to stadium unavailability at Dorrien Gardens. So the NPL men will be taking on Perth Glory at E&D Leader Stadium at Florida Athena. So the 18s, they'll go ahead at 11 o'clock, 1 p.m. for the 20s and senior men at 3 p.m. Very much looking forward to that. A bit of a shout out to the 18s, Basil Lenzo at the team. If my calculations are correct, then a win or a draw will see the 18s take out the league title this weekend. So, boys, we're all behind you. And, would love to see you take it out for yet another year for the mighty Perth Azuri. NPL Women, they will take on Subiaco. Again, this game has been moved. This one has been moved up to Percy Doyle Reserve in Sorrento, looking to finish the season on a high. They will lock in second place on the ladder, and then it is all guns blazing for a top four cup and, of course, the big cup final as well. Looking forward to seeing how that all plays out for all of our teams. Right, as I said, short and sweet this week. We'll be back with one final episode for the season next week. A big grand finale for season 2024. As always, make sure you spread the word around the Perth SC podcast. Good luck to all of the sides this weekend, and come on the Azuri.